Have you ever lain awake, heart heavy with a longing for something profound in love, a depth that slips through your fingers? No matter how tightly you hold on an unspoken ache that makes every connection feel like a tease, leaving you wondering if true fulfillment is just a myth. It's that silent erosion of hope, the one that whispers you're destined to settle, turning vibrant dreams into faded echoes. If left unexamined, it chains you to illusions, robbing you of the wholeness you deserve. Come with me now into this gentle unveiling where recognition awaits like an old friend. Feel that pull already. It's the beginning of something real. A quiet unraveling that starts with acknowledging how this craving has shaped your quietest nights. Those moments when the world sleeps, but your soul stirs restlessly, seeking a resonance that feels both ancient and urgently now. That familiar stir starts innocently enough, doesn't it? A glance across a crowded room or a message that lands with unexpected weight, pulling you towards someone who seems to embody the mystery you've been missing. He's not just anyone, he carries an air of introspection, words laced with wisdom that resonate in your bones, awakening a hunger you didn't know was starving. It's like a forgotten melody, suddenly playing, drawing you back to a part of yourself you thought was lost forever, stirring emotions that bubble up from depths you rarely visit. Consider Lila, a 29-year-old graphic designer from Austin, weary from the grind of freelance gigs and fleeting flings. She stumbles upon Theo at a local art exhibit, his quiet intensity drawing her in like a moth to flame. Over wine, he shares thoughts on life's undercurrents, and suddenly her guarded heart cracks open. This is different, she tells herself, feeling a surge of vitality she hasn't known in years. But as the nights unfold, that initial glow morphs into a restless yearning, an unnamed pull that keeps her scrolling through old texts, questioning why it feels so essential yet incomplete. Lila notices how his words echo her own unspoken ideas she's pushed aside in favor of the easy, the acceptable, designing logos that please clients but starve her creative fire, dating men who skim the surface but never dive deep. It's in these small revelations that the trigger deepens, not just a spark, but a slow-burning ember that illuminates the shadows of her daily routine, the way she dims her light to avoid standing out. This trigger isn't random. It's the soul's subtle alarm, signaling parts of you long dormant are stirring. Not from him entirely, but from within, where forgotten strengths ache to surface. It's easy to mistake this for fate, but pause. Let it settle. What if this craving is your own voice disguised as desire? Hold that thought tenderly as we spiral deeper, exploring the split that fuels it all. Imagine it as a thread pulling at the seams of your carefully woven life, revealing the raw edges you've hidden away. Right here. Close your eyes for a breath. Recall a moment when a connection ignited something profound. What did it awaken in you? Let that memory linger. Feel its warmth spread through your chest, reminding you that these stirrings are invitations, not accidents. Deep down you feel it, that quiet rift between the self you present to the world and the one whispering truths in the dark. Don't you? The polished version, ever adaptable and harmonious in a society that rewards compliance, clashing with a raw, insistent urge for authenticity, for a strength that cuts through the facade. It's exhausting, this performance, leaving you burned out identity, fraying at the edges as you suppress the fire within to fit the mold. Day after day, you navigate conversations that demand your softness, your empathy, while the bolder voice inside, logical, decisive, spiritually seeking, gets muffled like a song, played too quietly to hear its full melody. this split shows up in subtle ways: the hesitation before speaking your truth in a meeting, or the way you swallow your ambitions to keep peace at home, all while a quiet resentment builds unspoken but palpable. Through Carl Jung's lens, this tension arises from the persona, that social mask we craft for survival, colliding with the shadow, those disowned aspects we hide fearing judgment. For women, it often manifests in the animus, the inner masculine essence of logic, assertiveness, and spiritual depth. We've learned to outsource projecting it onto others while nurturing only the receptive side. Picture it as an ancient well within your psyche, brimming with untapped power, but capped by cultural whispers that say, "Be soft, be yielding." When ignored, it creates this inner void, a soul hunger, amid the noise of daily demands. Think of how society praises the nurturing woman, the one who listens and adapts, but rarely celebrates the one who asserts her vision, who claims space with unapologetic clarity. This imbalance festers, turning into quiet resentments, unexplained frustrations that surface in dreams or sudden tears. The Carl Jung shadow here isn't a monster. It's the guardian of your wholeness, holding the keys to the strength you've deemed too risky to wield. And yet, this split isn't a flaw. It's the Carl Jung shadow inviting you to wholeness. Suppressing it leads to emotional fatigue, where you give your all but feel unseen, chasing external validation to fill an internal gap. But imagine reclaiming that well, dipping in to draw forth your own wisdom, your drive. That's the path of individuation, not a forced change, but a natural unfolding toward integration. It begins with noticing the patterns, the way you defer decisions to others, or how your ideas get voiced through someone else's mouth. Small shifts accumulate like rain filling a parched earth, revitalizing the landscape of your inner world. Perhaps it's in reclaiming a hobby long abandoned, like writing poetry that challenges norms, or setting a boundary that honors your time. Each act a step toward bridging the divide, mirror truth. You think it's empathy holding you together, but maybe it's the way you disappear into others' needs, losing sight of your own boundaries in the process, fading a little more each time you prioritize their comfort over your clarity. Pause here, let the weight lift a little. Every so often this realization hits: the qualities you admire in him, his resolve, his insight, are echoes of your own buried treasures. Symbolic metaphor: like a tree split by lightning, one half thriving in light, the other rooted in darkness, both essential for growth. Without the roots delving into shadow, the branches can't reach the sky. There were times I felt this tear myself, performing poise while my soul screamed for substance. It's vulnerable, yes, but acknowledging it shifts everything. I remember nights staring at the ceiling, wondering why my relationships felt like half stories, until I saw the split for what it was: a call to mend, a gentle nudge from the Carl Jung shadow, to integrate what I disowned. Now consider how projection amplifies this, casting your animus outward onto men who seem to hold the key. But the real key, it's in your hands. The healing reframing. View this split not as division, but as duality yearning for harmony. Start with small acts, affirm your inner strength in quiet moments. Journal the traits you've disowned. Perhaps list 3 qualities you've admired in past partners: decisiveness, intellectual curiosity, spiritual depth. Then reflect on moments when you've embodied them yourself, even fleetingly, like that time you led a project with quiet confidence or pursued a passion alone. Extend this. Over a week, track instances where you outsource your power, gently redirecting it back inward. Ask yourself softly, what part of my power have I given away? Listen without judgment, let the answers rise like bubbles from the deep. If tears come, welcome them. They're the thaw of long frozen truths. You seek depth to feel complete, yet pursuing it externally only widens the gap. Unresolved tension builds, urging us forward. Let's ease into the reveal where the mask slips and truth emerges raw and radiant. Feel that anticipation. It's the psyche preparing for liberation, a quiet revolution brewing within. This is where it all unravels, that breathtaking clarity piercing through the haze. You're not merely falling for a man, but for the reflection of your own unintegrated depths projected onto him. That nameless craving. It's your animus-seeking embodiment, mistaken for external love, leaving you in a loop of longing and loss. It's a profound deception of the heart, where what feels like destiny is actually a mirror held up by the unconscious, showing you the pieces you've cast aside. This revelation often arrives in quiet moments, like after a disagreement, when you realize his words echoed your unspoken thoughts, or in solitude when the ache sharpens, revealing it's not about him at all. Let's linger with Nora, a 35-year-old marketing consultant from Denver, navigating her midlife shadow phase amid career pressures and quiet identity doubts. She encountered Julian, an enigmatic professor, whose intellectual prowess lit her up like nothing before. Conversations delved into philosophy and dreams, making her feel alive, seen. "He's the one who understands my soul," she confided to friends. But as intimacy grew, disillusion set in. His depth proved inconsistent, his emotional availability sparse. Heartbroken, she wondered why the ache persisted, why no one ever measured up. Nora began noticing patterns in her job. She pitched ideas through male colleagues, watching them take credit. In friendships, she sought out those with strong opinions to feel grounded. It was as if her own voice was on mute, amplified only through others. Digging deeper, she recalled childhood memories, her father's distant wisdom admired from afar, teaching her to seek strength outside rather than within, a pattern etched into her psyche. In Carl Jung's profound insight, every woman carries the eternal image of man, not a particular man, but man in general, mirroring how we project the animus, that archetype of masculine energy, onto partners. It's why aloof yet charismatic types captivate. They echo our shadow, the Carl Jung shadow of assertiveness and spirit we've relegated to the unconscious. Projection isn't betrayal. It's the psyche's way of highlighting what's missing within via the transcendent function that bridges worlds. This function acts like a mediator, whispering connections between conscious and unconscious, urging us to see the projections as signposts back to self. But when unchecked, it leads to repeated heartaches, each one a louder call from the Carl Jung shadow to reclaim what's ours. But the breakthrough stings and soothes. You're in love with your disowned self, not the wrong person. This explains the pull toward depth you can't name. It's the call to integrate, not chase. Without Carl Jung shadow work, we remain ensnared, confusing inner urges with destiny. Dive deeper. These projections often stem from early experiences, perhaps a father figure who embodied strength you admired but couldn't claim, or societal messages that bifurcated gender roles, leaving you to nurture while outsourcing agency. Unpacking this layer by layer reveals how the animus, when projected, distorts relationships, turning partners into placeholders for our unlived potential. Reflect on past attractions. What animus qualities did you see in them that live in you? Journal it out layer by layer, starting with surface traits and digging to emotional roots. When did you first notice this quality in yourself? What stopped you from owning it? Wait, what if the love you've chased isn't love at all, but a haunting question? Why do I deny my own depth? It flips the script, challenging the fairy tale. yet it compels us deeper, because ignoring it means more emptiness. This twist isn't meant to unsettle, but to awaken. Picture the fairy tale crumbling, revealing a truer narrative beneath one where you're the hero reclaiming your throne. Admitting this to myself was shattering, realizing my soulmates were mirrors, not saviors. Yet it liberated me, like breaking free from a spell I'd cast unknowingly, allowing space for genuine connections to emerge. Envision a kaleidoscope, fragments of light forming illusions, twisted inward, and patterns align into truth. Each shift reveals a new facet of your wholeness, colors blending where once divided. Reclaim through awareness, track projections in a dream journal. Engage active imagination to dialogue with your animus. It's not eradication, but embrace turning wounds into wisdom. Begin tonight. Sit quietly. Visualize your animus as a wise guide. Ask what he needs from you. Over time, this practice softens the edges, making integration feel natural, like breathing. Imagine your animus as a figure. What message does he bring? Feel the shift, the warmth of recognition, spreading, perhaps a sense of partnership forming within. Often, this reveal uncovers generational patterns where mothers projected similarly, passing the unnamed ache. But you can break it starting now by modeling integration for those who follow, creating a legacy of wholeness. Think of Ava, who after a string of intense but short-lived affairs, sat with her journal mapping projections. The aha, her craving for adventure, was hers to live, not borrow. She started solo travels, claiming her wanderlust, and relationships transformed from needy to nourishing. For Ava, it meant quitting a stable job for freelance exploration, embodying the assertiveness she'd sought in others. You believed he held the depth, but unresolved tension reveals he's the catalyst, not the cure. This friction propels us like a river carving stone, shaping us through resistance. This revelation isn't closure, it's ignition. Gently, let's pivot to the turning point where acceptance blooms from ashes and the path forward clarifies, illuminated by the light of self-understanding. Breathe in this shift. The air lightens as recognition dawns, turning confusion into compass, pain into pathway. That first glimmer of self-acceptance feels tentative, yet profound, like dawn breaking after endless night where the animus no longer haunts, but harmonizes. It's a subtle realignment where the energy once projected outward begins to flow back in nourishing your decisions, your voice, your very presence in the world. This turning doesn't happen overnight. It's in the small choices, like speaking up in a conversation where you'd once stayed silent, feeling the thrill of your own authority. Draw from Kendra, a 41-year-old educator from Portland, steeped in her rebirth path, exhausted by performance culture's demands. She'd pursued men like Elias, visionaries who promised profundity but delivered detachment. One relationship crumbled under the weight. "Why can't you fill this void?" she pleaded. Rock bottom led to exploring Carl Jung's shadow, where she confronted projections head-on. In solitary walks, the insight landed, "The depth I seek is mine to cultivate." Kendra started small, asserting ideas in meetings, pursuing a certification in philosophy that fed her intellectual hunger. Doubts crept back, old habits of deference, but each victory reinforced the shift like muscles strengthening with use. She even revisited old journals, tracing how her mother's unfulfilled dreams had shaped her own projections, breaking the chain with compassionate awareness. The pivot, realizing love from lack breeds cycles, integrating the animus fosters freedom. She began owning her logic, her ambition leading workshops, voicing boundaries. Realism tempers hope, patterns resurface, doubts whisper, but each integration builds resilience. It's not a linear path. Setbacks feel like regressions, but they're spirals circling higher each time. Kendra found that in moments of doubt, returning to nature hiking trails where silence amplified her inner voice re-anchored her, turning potential relapses into opportunities for deeper integration. This is individuation, unfolding the Carl Jung shadow, transforming from foe to ally. The wound of confusing inner destiny with external saviors heals via practical steps. Meditate on animus symbols, affirm disowned traits daily. Extend this, create a ritual like lighting a candle each morning to honor your inner strength, or reading works that embody assertiveness, letting them seep into your being. Pair it with movement, yoga poses that build core power, symbolizing the reclaiming of your center. Mirror truth. Every time you chase his depth, you teach yourself. Yours is insufficient, perpetuating a cycle of self-doubt that dims your light until you choose to shine it inward. A puzzle piece clicking in the picture whole, where once fragmented. Now the edges align, revealing a landscape vast and yours to explore, with paths leading to uncharted territories of self. My turning came in silence. Accepting my strength without apology, it changed everything. I felt a quiet power emerge, no longer borrowed, but owned, rippling into every aspect of my life, from work to whispered dreams. In Kendra's tale, the unexpected twist, she reconnects with an old flame, but now from wholeness, the connection endures without desperation. Intense confession. I stopped needing him to complete me, and love became mutual, a dance rather than a chase. This shift opened doors to collaborations where her voice led, not followed. Pain as portal, embrace it, and dependency dissolves into empowerment. View relapses not as failures, but as reminders to deepen the work, each one a layer peeled back. Affirm aloud, I claim my inner depth. Notice the resonance, how it echoes through your body like a long-held breath, released, perhaps evoking a sense of expansion in your chest. Hope isn't naive, it's earned through work. As we ease inward, feel the return calling softly, a whisper, growing into a steady hum, drawing you home. Sense that homecoming now. A gentle settling like roots deepening into familiar soil, reconnecting with the self you've always been beyond the splits and projections. This isn't about perfection, but presence, welcoming the animus back with open arms, allowing masculine and feminine to weave into one. It's a reunion that feels both new and eternal, where the fragments coalesce into a tapestry richer for its complexity. In this space, decisions feel aligned, creativity flows unchecked, and the world reflects back the wholeness you've cultivated within. Through shadow work, the nameless desire fades, replaced by inner equilibrium. Jung's self emerges, that transcendent core guiding individuation, where wholeness isn't achieved but remembered. You're no longer tethered to external depths. Love arises from abundance, authentic and unforced. Imagine this in practice. Decisions flow with balanced intuition and logic. Relationships deepen without the undercurrent of neediness, and solitude becomes a sanctuary rather than a void. But it's ongoing. The animus may stir during stress, reminding you to integrate anew, like tending a garden that blooms perennially. Embrace these stirrings as allies, not adversaries, each one deepening your roots. Picture mornings where solitude feels nourishing, evenings where connections enhance, not define. The payoff unfolds, emotional burnout eases, identity solidifies, peace prevails. Extend further. In community, you attract others on similar paths, conversations rich with mutual depth, no longer one-sided. Or in career, ideas once outsourced, now boldly presented, leading to opportunities that honor your full self. emotional confession. Returning to myself felt like shedding heavy armor, lighter, truer. There was a moment post-integration when I stood in a rainstorm, feeling my strength match the elements' unyielding yet fluid a harmony I'd long craved. Waves retreating to ocean, your animus merging seamlessly, the surface calm above profound depths, ripples extending outward in quiet power. Nurture this through rituals, art, nature walks, fostering integration daily. Perhaps sketch your animus symbols or walk barefoot on earth, grounding the energy. Incorporate music that stirs your spirit, letting rhythms align your inner duality. Visualize your whole self, what colors, sensations arise. Hold it close, let it infuse your being, like sunlight through leaves warming the places once cold. You thought wholeness meant finding another, but it's in the quiet alone where true depth resides, blooming into shared joys. As we near awakening, let this resonance linger, echoing through your days ahead, a gentle reminder of the home within. Have you felt that craving for unnamed depth, believing it lay in another's hands? What if it's always been yours, hidden in the Carl Jung shadow, waiting for embrace? Integrating the animus ends the chase. True love blooms from inner fullness. This journey isn't about erasing the ache, but transforming it into fuel for your authentic path, a quiet fire that lights your way forward. Jung reminds us, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Let that sink in. The Carl Jung shadow isn't enemy but teacher, guiding you home with compassionate wisdom. You're whole now, the depth awaits within. If stirred, share below. What animus insight emerged for you? Like, comment, subscribe for more. Carl Jung Shadow Explorations. Walk gently into your light, carrying this wholeness like a quiet flame, knowing the spiral continues ever deepening.